Mr. President.
Republican leader is recognized.
My good friend mentioned Henry Clay. He would have approved very much of the bill that the House will be sending over later today. And the abortion provision that my good friend, the Majority Leader, refers to is one that Democratic leaders have previously supported, it's a measure that's been previously in appropriation bills and a measure that's previously been signed by the President. So obviously that's not what this measure is about. As the Majority Leader indicated, the talks are continuing, but two positions that have emerged are very clear. Throughout this debate, Republicans have consistently said that we prefer a bipartisan agreement that keeps the government running and provides critical funding and certainty for our troops. This is exactly what we've been working toward all along, and that is exactly what the bill the House Republicans are expected to pass today will do. Importantly, this bill will also include a modest reduction in Washington spending, a reduction well within the range that even Democratic leaders have described as reasonable. In fact, the bill that House Republicans will send over to the Senate today is nothing more than a smaller version of the larger bill that Democrats say they want. So let's be specific, very specific. The Obama administration and the Secretary of Defense have said they need an annual defense bill. The House bill we'll get today does that. It passes the defense appropriations bill. Senate Democrats have said they want the government to keep running. The House bill we'll get today does precisely that. Democratic leaders have identified a number of cuts they believe are reasonable. The spending cuts in the House bill that we'll get today go no farther than that. Democrat leaders have said they wanted no controversial policy riders. That's what we just heard our Majority Leader talking about. But the policy provisions in the bill we'll get today are provisions that members of the Democratic leadership have already voted for and that the President himself has previously signed into law. So it would be pretty hard to argue that that's controversial. So here's the bottom line. The bill does everything Democrats have previously said they want. It cuts Washington spending by an amount that Democratic leaders believe is reasonable. The policy prescriptions it contains have been previously agreed to by Democratic leaders and signed by this President. And most importantly, this is the only proposal out there that keeps the government open, the only one that's coming over from the House. In other words, if a shutdown does occur, our Democratic friends have no one to blame but themselves because they've done nothing whatsoever to prevent it. Since they have produced no alternative to the bill that the House is sending over today, no alternative to the one the House is sending over today, this is the only proposal currently on the table that will keep the government open. So there are two options at this point. Democrats can either take up and pass this reasonable bill that falls well within the bounds of what their own leadership has defined as acceptable, or shut down the government. That's it. That's the choice. So rather than talking about a shutdown, I hope our Democratic friends join us in actually preventing one. There's only one way to do that, by quickly passing the House bill and sending it to the President for his signature before tomorrow night. Now, Mr. President, on another matter, the President will meet today at the White House with Colombian President